Hey, it's Leo. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be discussing the books I've read in May. Each time I do a video, I do lift up a nonprofit that is doing good work in the world, and I will make a donation and I commend them to you to like, follow, donate, share as you are inspired. Lift up for you this week a local organization, the Native American Youth and Family Center. They write, our continuum of lifetime services create a wraparound, holistic, healthy environment that is youth-centered, family-driven, and elder-guided. So I'll commend them to you. I'll make a donation and I'll put the information in the links down below. In May, I had 12 books on my TBR, or my to-be-read list. I was following the prompts with Cindy's Asian Readathon for the month of May, and I was also reading some of the winners of the Edgar Award books for 2021. The first book is The Djinn Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anappara, which won Best Novel in the Edgar Awards in 2021. It's a mystery with the young protagonist, Jay, a 9-year-old boy in an Indian city who loves to watch police procedurals. And as children start to go missing in his impoverished neighborhood, he recruits his friends Faiz and Pari to help him track down what happened to these kids. It was beautifully written, the setting and the characterizations were gorgeous. I can definitely see why this won. And it also really powerfully accomplished what the author set out to do, in my opinion. Deepa Anappara was previously a journalist who had written about the impacts of poverty and religious extremism and exclusion on children. And she really reflects those impacts in this story. This book was beautiful, sad, funny, well written. I loved the kids. Give it 4.5 stars and definitely recommend it. The second book I read was Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu, which I give 4 stars. So it's hard to describe the format of this book. It's in second person and it follows, it's written as a script, and it follows Willis Wu, this protagonist, who is a bit part player in a recurring series on a cop show set in Chinatown. And then it explores kind of Willis Wu both on set and off set. It's really moving. It's definitely a lot more serious than I anticipated. I knew that it speaks to like the aspects of racism, anti-Asian racism, and assimilation. But for some reason, maybe I thought because of the script format, I thought it would be more lighthearted. And it definitely, it has funny moments. But there's just some heart-wrenching scenes with aging parents, with trying to navigate expectations as an Asian man, the experiences of poverty and the immigrant experience. Not what I expected, but still very good. I give this 4 stars. There were definitely parts that made me angry as I reflected on racism, and there's some cultural historical pieces that the author provides in here that also some of which I wasn't aware of, and is good history to know, but again makes me angry and like, why are we like this in terms of racism and white supremacy. I probably did miss some of the Hollywood Insider jokes, but I gave this a 4 star and I recommend it to you if it sounds interesting to you. The next book I read is The Devotion of Suspect X by Keigo Higashino, which is an international bestseller that came out of Japan, and this one is translated by Alexander O. Smith and Ellie Alexander. And I gave this 4 stars and really enjoyed the murder mystery on this one. It was definitely well plotted and surprising, and I really also enjoyed the characters, but also wondered, like, where is this going? Are they a good guy? Are they a bad guy? Like, what's happening? I definitely recommend this to you if you're looking for a good mystery. Also, it's fun because both the detective and One of the people who is involved in the case are, one's a mathematician and one's a physicist. And so there's some interplay and conversation about science and math and physics and so forth. So Devotion of Suspect X, I give a 4-star. I just realized that I said to you I had read 12, or I had 12 books on my TBR in May, and I only had 11, so just making a correction. One of the books was Even This Page is White by Vivek Shraya. This is a book of poetry that is on race and racism, and I found it to be poignant. It's a brief read, so you can fit it in, but you could also deeply reflect on it. I appreciate that Vivek discusses not only the racism that she experienced as a Southeast Asian living in Canada, but she also reflects on anti-Indigenous and anti-Black racism, and both her interaction with that and then the interaction with whiteness and those experiences. So I recommend this one to you. That is Even This Page is White by Vivek Shraya. The next book I read is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, which was the Edgar Award winner for the Best Paperback Original. I give this book 5 stars, and I pretty much went through it in one sitting. I did it an audiobook, so I had to take a break at a point, but I otherwise just plowed through that. It was suspenseful and gripping. So the story is set in Brooklyn, and it's really about this woman who is noticing that all of her Black neighbors are moving away or disappearing, and then the neighborhood is being gentrified, which we see, in quite a lot of places. And so I really wondered, knowing that was the premise, where she was going to take it and how it, how it was going to turn out as a thriller. And boy, she delivered. And there were some great commentary pieces. There's a romance with one of the neighbors who is a white man, and so there's some great commentary on the white savior complex, and also about how intergenerational Black communities care for one another. The ending was great. It definitely gripped me, and it definitely made me angry about the racism and gentrification that we experience, but I was also totally drawn into the story. And this is the second Alyssa Cole book that I've done on audiobook, and both of them I've just pretty much just gone through the whole thing nonstop. So she's probably an auto buy for me. So I commend that to you, When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, 5 stars. The next book I read was the Simon & Schuster Mary Higgins Clark Award winner at the Edgar Awards in 2021, and that is The Cabinets of Barnaby, Maine by Elsa Hart. I give this one 4 stars. This is a mystery set in 1703 London with the protagonist, Lady Cecily Kay, who winds up trying to solve the murder of Sir Barnaby, Maine, who is a collector of all of these oddities and plants and animals and all of the things that he wants to collect. Anyway, so he's murdered, and someone confesses to it, but she doesn't believe that they're guilty, and so she investigates. I would call it a lighthearted mystery. It's intended to be kind of in the vein of Agatha Christie, and I think she accomplishes that. I definitely, at the beginning, was not so convinced. I was a little annoyed with the protagonist's just outright love of these men who were collectors. But then the character grew on me, and I think the character also grew in her own understanding of that world of collectors. It was just hard not to also just read those collectors as just awful colonizers and thieves. for me. And I will say that when I finished the book and there's the little hint that there might be a sequel, I thought, I'd probably read that. So I'll recommend it to you, The Cabinets of Barnaby, Maine, 4 stars. The G.P. Putnam Sons Sue Grafton Memorial Award at the Edgar Awards in 2021 went to Verit Kelly is a Mystery by Rosalie Connect. And since that is the second book in a series, I instead read Who's Verit Kelly, which is book 1. Story of Verit Kelly, who is a young woman in the 60s who was recruited by the CIA. And so the story takes place in flashes between her childhood, her teenage years, and then in the US, and then the present action of the story, which is happening in Argentina right before a coup in the 60s. And, it just wasn't what I expected. I was expecting a mystery, and it didn't really feel like a mystery. I think the way it was marketed, at least with my reading history, I was expecting something more like Mrs. Polyfax, who I love and adore. How many Mrs. Polyfax fans do we have out there? Probably many. P.S. If you haven't read Mrs. Polyfax yet by Dorothy Gilman, highly recommend. But I digress. This Who's Verit Kelly? It was fine. It was a good book, 3.5 stars, but it just didn't meet what I was looking for, which was a mystery. Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't meet my hopes and expectations for what I thought going into it. But it might be just the ticket for you. The next book I read was Pet by Akwaeke Emezi, which many people recommended 5 stars. I will give this book 4 stars, and I feel a little guilty doing that. The writing is gorgeous, the characters, the diversity, the story, it's really good. I think I knew that it was about something like hunting monsters, and I knew that there was some kind of social commentary or something in it. I did not expect that it was going to be about child abuse, and I'm just going to say that so that you're not surprised. I don't think that's a spoiler. If it is, I apologize. Really powerful, but that's not what I was expecting, and I don't think I was in a place where I wanted to read it, even though they don't describe the abuse, etc. So I don't know. Powerful book, beautifully written, 4 stars. I will say one other thing about this is that the protagonist is a young Black trans woman, and I do really love how her family supported and accepted her, her friends supported and accepted her, how she was portrayed. She also was selectively mute, so she would sign and occasionally vocalize, and that was portrayed just really sensitively and beautifully. So I feel conflicted about not giving this 5 stars, but I, for now, will give this the 4 stars, but highly recommend it if you are in a place where you are able to approach that topic. And we end on 5-star. Please buy and read this book, Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is the story of a kid going to a magical wizarding school that you should read. This is so good. The characters are good. The plotting is good. I really appreciated the craft of the storytelling and the way that you go from like tense to funny to sweet to, just the way that the emotional arcs were also carried in the story was really well done. So this is a I think middle grade fantasy about Amari, who winds up going to this magical school summer camp, but there's so much more going on. Her older brother is missing. Everyone thinks he's dead. She's determined to find him. She meets a friend who's a roommate in her roommate, who's someone who's also been outcast. There's just so many situations where I was like, how is it gonna play out, and I was just really satisfied, and I really want more. I'm hoping that this is the start of a series, and that we get to see Amari and this world unfold. It's so good. Wait, are you not reading this already? Yeah, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. I listened to this on audiobook and then bought it in paper because I loved it. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching. For June, I'm hoping to read more mysteries and also more authors of color. And because it'll be Pride Month, I'm hoping to read some queer authors as well. If you have any suggestions for any of those categories, please leave them below, especially if you had like recommendations of queer mystery authors, or mystery authors of color, or queer mystery authors of color, or just 5-star books that are auto buys for you, or anything that you loved. Tell me how your reading's going. And thanks for watching, and remember, you're awesome.